support. Just checking the jaw here in hospital. And big apologies for my performance tonight. Still can't understand this my stupid mercy in the fight, and that cost me this fight. I would like to fight a rematch because, man, that was my fight. That was my fight, and I just gave him this opportunity to catch me. And big apologies to everyone who support me.
Yuri Prochazka. He reacts to his UFC 327 loss, and he's calling for a rematch against Carlos Ulberg. Guys, Yuri just admitted that he lost the UFC title because he showed mercy. Yeah, mercy. I don't know about that, guys. Did you guys watch UFC 327? Beautiful, beautiful card, by the way, guys. Absolutely incredible. Full of action. But let's get into it, guys. Welcome back. Welcome to Duality 7X. I'm your host, Shiraz. Here we cover all the latest, greatest trending stories when it comes to the world of MMA, UFC, WWE, and the world of boxing, guys. Even right down to the craziest, steamiest drama-related headlines. But, guys, this one sounds like one of those stories, right? That sounds crazy at first, right? But when you really look at it, through a good close microscope. Yeah, you don't need a microscope, guys, but it might explain everything that's wrong with the UFC light heavyweight division right now. Yeah. Guys, UFC 327, that card between Yuri and Carlos, what a nail biter, guys, right to the end. If you blinked, you would have missed it, because this isn't just about Yuri Prochazka losing his UFC 327 title, or losing at the UFC 327. This is more about the division itself that's probably heading back into some chaotic turbulence, so to speak, right? And the scary part about all of this is that we might not have a real champion for a long time. And I'll get into that as well. If you guys know, you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen it, if you've seen the match, it was unsettling to watch, but crazy, crazy finish, guys. So let's get into it, guys. Let's try to break this down. So Carlos Ulberg is 13-1, now coming in 14-1, and then 10-1 in the UFC. He goes into UFC 327 smiling. He's confident. He wins the vacant UFC light heavyweight title. But the way he did it is what everyone's talking about right now. It's blowing up social media. Anyone who watched it live was just, wow, in shock. He suffered a brutal knee injury early in the fight, and it looked compromised to the point where we thought he was done. Everyone thought he was done. And across for him, you have the samurai, Yuri Prochazka, 32-6-1, former champion. He's known for chaos, pressure. He brings it every single time, his A game, that is. This was his moment to take the belt back. So what went wrong? What went wrong? Well, first of all, here's where things kind of take a weird turn. Instead of pushing the pace, instead of finishing a hurt champion, Yuri hesitated. He hesitated. He slowed down, and honestly, guys, by his own words, he said he showed mercy. And in the world of combat sports, especially when it comes to MMA, the UFC, that's a dangerous, dangerous mistake, because all it takes is one flicker of a moment, guys, like that. Can you hear that? Like that. One opening, one shot, and that's exactly what happened. Jeez, guys, it was unbelievable to watch. I mean, here you have Carlos Ulberg, right? He's hopping around on, well, he wasn't hopping, but he looked like he just had one leg. I mean, he threw a Hail Mary shot, out of the distance, and it connected with Yuri and knocked him out cold, just like that. Just like that. He took his chance. He had one chance, one opportunity, and he caught him flush. And what looked like to be a painful night for Carlos turned out to be quite the opposite, because now Yuri is 32-6-1 with a 6-3 record for undisputed title fights in the UFC. So just let that sink in for a second, guys. A fighter this talented, this dangerous, now on the wrong side of history when it comes to title fights. According to Magomed Ankalaev, he's been knocked out 3 times in his last 6 fights. 3 times. And you can tell it hit Yuri hard. It was this awkward post-fight interview. I mean, so he goes on Instagram from his hospital, and he's apologizing, saying he doesn't understand why he showed mercy. He said he called it very stupid. It was a stupid decision. And he's already asking for a rematch. He wants a rematch. He wants it right away because he believes he won that fight. And honestly, I mean, he might be right to a degree, right? Because, I mean, Yuri was winning the fight. And all of a sudden, Carlos, like, I mean, he was almost done. He was almost done, guys. It was painful to watch. And then all of a sudden, he found this clear shot. He took it, and he won. But here's the bigger issue that perhaps maybe a lot of people are missing. And if Yuri does get this rematch, okay, which, I mean, there is a possibility because these guys are highly entertaining to watch. Will there ever be a champion to fight? Question mark. So you're asking yourself, well, what exactly does that mean? Because Carlos Ulberg's win should be a huge moment, and it is. I mean, it's a definitely huge moment for him. I mean, it was history in the making, guys. I mean, he's a new champion. He's a beautiful, big finish. I mean, that's what you call star-making performance, okay? But instead, the focus immediately shifts to his knee, because right now, it's deemed as a very serious injury. Like, I mean, we're probably talking a full ACL tear, and you're talking about 9 to 12 months out of the game, out of the octagon. And he just became champion. And look, we've seen this before. This is not the first time. Yuri Prochazka had to vacate due to injury. Jamal Hill had to vacate due to injury. And now it's quite possible that Ulberg is probably going to have to do the same. He might be next. And that's 3 champions in a decade, right? All losing the belt without being beaten. Isn't that crazy just to think about that? I mean, that's not just bad luck, guys. That's instability. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate because, I mean this, and you know what? I hate to say this, guys, but this is the business side of things, right? And you have to understand, because the UFC, it's a business. And when you're talking about things related from a business perspective, from a business standpoint, this is not the kind of finishes that the UFC likes to see. This is actually a nightmare for the UFC and their PR team. They can't build a division if it keeps getting held up by situations like this, like what we saw. You can't build stars if the champion isn't even active or active to defend his new title. So what do you do? What happens? What happens in that case? Interim titles, I guess, right? That's what happens. Vacant belts, quick turnarounds. I mean, there's options, there is, but the UFC doesn't like any of those options because there's always some bad publicity to follow. And suddenly the value of the belt itself starts to kind of feel a little shaky. And that's not the kind of look and feel that the UFC wants, especially when it comes to the light heavyweight title. Because again, this is the 3rd time now in a decade that this has happened. And there's always some kind of controversy that surrounds this division. And I'm not even sure if that's the reason why Alex Pereira wanted to get out of it and move up to heavyweight. But here's where things get a little bit messier, because look at the top contenders. You got Magomed Ankalaev, okay? I mean, uncertain as to his position. You got Khalil Roundtree Jr. He's coming off some serious setbacks, right? And then Jamal Hill, we just talked about. He's prone to injury. He's very susceptible to injury. He's one of the guys that I just mentioned who was in that position where he had to vacate his belt. So nobody is in a clean position. Paulo Costa might actually be one of the best options right now. And I mean, he just beat Azamat Murzakanov yesterday on UFC 327. They were the co-main event. That was a beautiful fight. Beautiful fight. I didn't think Paulo was gonna win, man, but he did. And then you got these wild card scenarios that are being thrown out from left field. You got Hamzat Shamaev, current middleweight guy. He's a champion and possibly interested in moving up after UFC 328 for a belt at 205. This is where, I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about. We're talking about pulling in champions from other divisions potentially to stabilize the existing division. Understand that there's a lot of layers of complexity and challenges when it comes to trying to even put any of those pieces together, right? Because I mean, look, despite Yuri's loss, all right, his timing might actually work in his favor, because if he's demanding a rematch, and if Ulberg, and it's not even if Ulberg is out, I think it's going to be that Ulberg is out, and the UFC is going to need a name. They're going to need a draw, like a former champion, perhaps, right? And Yuri suddenly becomes your guy. He's extremely valuable yet again. I mean, for light heavyweight, I mean, look, for an interim title fight, I could see it happening. What does that lead to? I mean, it's anyone's guess, but ultimately it should lead to some kind of a rematch, right? But the exact fight that Yuri, I mean, we don't know if it's going to be the exact fight that Yuri is asking for, but it could be. But if he wants to fight Carlos, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But if he does fight somebody, and if there's an interim belt, well, that could spell into something else, right? But the whole situation, honestly, in my opinion, highlights something really deeper that's going on in the world of combat sports and MMA in the UFC. But there's no room, honestly, in my opinion, for any kind of hesitation at this point. I mean, especially no room for mercy, right? Yeah, Yuri was trying to be a good guy. He's feeling concerned about his opponent. That's great. But the moment you take your foot off the pedal, somebody else is ready to take everything from you. Okay, Yuri didn't just lose the fight. He essentially, what happened was he lost control of the moment within the fight. And look, guys, in this division, everyone's hungry. It's unstable. Moments like this are everything. And so people are going to question. They're going to scrutinize Yuri's comments about not showing mercy, and now you're left with two big questions. And I mean, how bad is Carlos's injury? Number one, and did Yuri Prochazka just cost himself another title potentially, or set up the perfect comeback story? I don't know. I really don't know, because Black Jag, I mean, he's a champion right now, but in this division, chaos isn't the exception necessarily. It's somewhat of a pattern, and look, again, I alluded to Magomed. Don't forget Ankalaev, because I mean, he has not forgotten his animosity towards Yuri, evidently, and he did not miss the chance to mock Prochazka after his UFC 327 setback. Yuri, according to Magomed, said that Yuri never talk about me again. He wrote this on X, and he goes, if you want to fight, honestly, if you want to fight, none of these guys are at my level. And then he went on to congratulate Carlos Ulberg in his victory against Yuri. So Prochazka has been knocked out 3 of his 6 last fights, as I alluded to earlier. And Magomed said that he doesn't want to hear his name anymore. Frankly, he's had enough. And he posted all of this on X. So very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, Yuri's got a bit of a dilemma. He's got he's got a pretty bad headache this morning, I'm sure. But let me know what you guys think, guys. Did Yuri really lose because he showed mercy? And who do you think should fight for the belt if Carlos Ulberg is genuinely out? If you there's a lot of questions here. Just remember that it was Alex Pereira who who vacated his light heavyweight title, so he could move up to heavyweight, and because of which Yuri and Carlos fought each other to see who wins this title, and now there's already controversy, and Carlos is the new champion. And not only is he the new champion, but now he might potentially be out for close to a year, depending on how things go and how quickly he heals up. And so the UFC's got some big decisions that they have to make. They've got a lot of questions that they need to answer, and they're going to have to try to figure this out quicker than quick, because Yuri's already out there and he's complaining, and he's obviously really like jaded. Due to his loss against Carlos. And you could tell in that awkward moment when he's talking to Seth Rogen, he's attempting to talk to Seth Rogen, he's like looking the other way. You could tell he's really mad at himself. I mean, it was a shocking knockout. He had Carlos where he wanted him. He didn't finish him off. It looked like he was trying to give him an opportunity to just, quit. But, I don't think Carlos is the type to quit. I mean, he kept hitting him in the leg, like those leg kicks, and essentially he was saying he's showing mercy, and then he was getting a little close to him, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Carlos saw this opening, and he hit him flush right on the chin, and that knocked out Yuri cold, and it was over. Just like that, guys. Hail Mary from heaven, and Carlos is now the new UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. And what's really sad about all this is that he may not even be able to defend his title. So I'd like to see if the UFC potentially might look at doing some kind of an interim title potentially. And maybe Yuri could compete for that. Maybe he could fight for that. But seeing that he lost, does he automatically get the opportunity to compete for that title? I mean, is that fair? Because there's a lot of other hungry fighters who want it just as bad as him and everyone else, right? But I mean, Yuri's got some incredible skills, guys. He knows what he's doing in the octagon. He just caught a bad punch out of nowhere. I don't think he was expecting. I don't think he was expecting any kind of offense from Carlos. But anyways, guys, that's my take on it. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Put your thoughts and comments below. I'm going to pin a comment in the description. Let me know what you guys think. And tomorrow we're going to talk about Jon Jones. We're going to talk about Jon Jones because the last we talked about Jon Jones, he was not happy. The UFC didn't put him on the UFC Freedom 250 White House card. Everyone thought, including myself, including him, thought that there would be an opportunity for him to fight Alex Pereira because Alex Pereira vacated his light heavyweight title, which he just spoke about, and that could have set up the big potential super fight right there on the White House lawn between Jon Jones and Alex Pereira. But that's not happening. That's not happening. And in fact, Jon Jones will not even be on the card. And apparently he's saying that he was in negotiations with Hunter and some of the guys there with UFC, but Dana White was squashing that and saying, no, we were actually talking to everybody, not just him. So it didn't make the situation any more unique than what he's talking about. But then there's other news indicating that Jon Jones turned down $15 million to fight Alex Pereira because he felt that the fight should be worth more. So, I mean, the real reasons will come out, but needless to say, everyone just seen Jon Jones sitting there at the UFC. And he was so angry. He was so angry with Dana White and so angry with the UFC that Jon Jones went online to say, look, if you don't want me, then release me from my contract. And then Jon Jones goes on and opens up his own Dirty Boxing Championship promotion. And that too, he did it in DC. So he got the license for it. And the next thing you know, he's talking to Hunter. And then you see him sitting, you see him sitting at the UFC 327 at the Kaseya Center in Florida, watching UFC. And the president was there. President Trump was there in attendance. So I'm sure, and him and Jon Jones have a good relationship. So I'm sure they chatted, they spoke, but very, very interesting stuff. So we'll get into it tomorrow. For now, enjoy your night. Pleasure was all mine. Have a good one. Catch you later.